I respond to
You hang on to this, and I'll let you come back to it, yeah. But I want to give the public in. Yes, ma'am, and
I'm Mary Jolie from Batman, which is Banbury Against Telephone Mass Association Network. In view of the fact the government received in excess of £1 billion per annum in tax from mobile phone companies, what do you think it will take to get legislation in place to site masts further away from schools and residents? While I'm here today, they're actually siting a 50-foot mast 50 metres away from the paper.
Okay, all right. Yes, and the woman behind, yes, the camera, yeah.
My name's Sheila Johnson. I'm a neuroscientist. I have a PhD from the University of Iowa, and I've been following radiation research for 11 years. And I consult for people all over the world, including governments, research groups, and anybody. And in 1999, as George Carlos said, he had some results. A lot of them weren't published until well into the 2000s, and some of them were never published. And since the day that he finished at WTR, this research has continued. And it's been continued under the FDA, and they've had future micronuclei studies to look for the mechanism. And the FDA, under Howard Sear and Avi Destra, have concluded that there is no evidence that micronuclei are indeed formed by radio frequencies. And this is in published literature. And so this mechanism that Dr. Carlo talks about bases on research that wasn't published yet, and he doesn't seem to refer on to the future research. And I just have a question for Dr. Carlo.
Sure.
In your healthcare program that you set up, have the FDA licensed your education program to the medical practitioners?
Okay. Keep them all together. I'll take them in back to you. Okay? Thank you very much. We'll get an answer in a second. Robert.
Thank you. Rob Plellow, Member of Parliament for Stoke-on-Trent South. Being a constituency MP, I have a sort of strange pull on me from two directions. On the one hand, I try not to be in any way scaremongering and worry people unduly. But equally, I'm faced with a situation where residents come to me from the southeast part of my constituency with a map. And on that map, they've drawn the phone mast very carefully aligned on that map where the main parts of the beam from the three antennae are. And then overlaid onto that map is a survey they've done of local residents, putting blobs on for where people with brain cancers, ear cancers are. And you look at the map, and they are in exact alignments. And so I go to the National Statistics Office and ask for details in the area of different illnesses. We don't take the data. I go to the research material. The research is ongoing. So what do I say to my constituents? Should I tell them that you're right to be concerned? Or should I be saying that you're absolutely right, forgive me, I didn't quite catch your name, but in terms of the research that should be being done, should I say it's very important the work should be being done, but it isn't at the moment? What should I be saying to my constituents?
There's a big difference between research on cause and effect and public health intervention work. Our job in the Safe Wireless Initiative is public health intervention. We're moving forward based on our clinical and scientific understanding so that we can help people. That research you should be supporting. That type of work. Unfortunately, from what I understand, in the UK right now there's no one doing this type of work. But the only work ongoing has to do with cause and effect. And as the question from Sheila indicates, there are 9 peer-reviewed papers showing micronuclei for radiation. I'll show them to you. Now, the argument about how many angels can dance on the head of a pin is not one that I want to be involved in. We're about intervening to save lives. period. That's our job. We have to apply science. Sometimes it's imperfect. Doctors do that every day. So that as you put your program together here, you need to understand that the very important work that Dr. Chalice is doing, and we don't agree on everything, obviously, but he's a good man.
Well,
that
that's
work
not been proven yet.
That work is very important, but that's causation research. And that has a place. But what we're talking about here is intervention for diagnosis and intervention. Diagnosis and intervention research. That's what you need. That's why a post-market surveillance registry is absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary, especially since there are no safety regulations like a safety agency on cell phones. In the United States, the FDA has not intervened with regard to cell phones. Another point, the FDA is not in the business of sanctioning any education programs. When people come and apply, we go to their continuing medical education board to give them the credit.
And what about the
So-
medical board?
So
This is the medical board.
we're doing what we have to do for every individual to get their continuing medical education. This would be a good course, by the way, for you to come to, and I think we're going to hold one here in the UK. You could sit in the front row, Sheila.
Hold on, Sheila.
Okay. Did
No, I
that
will
answer your
not.
question?
He's not an Iowan, don't worry.
I'd like to ask, do you think that the mobile phone industry has deliberately concealed evidence that demonstrates the causal link between mobile phone radiation and cancer, and taken calculated steps to promote public belief that it is completely safe, while knowing this to be false?
Okay, that's a fair question, yeah. Yes, sir?
No?
Yes.
Rod Reed, electrosensitivity support charity for electrolyte sensitives. I talk daily to people who are made ill by electromagnetic fields and communication radio frequencies. And what is almost worse for them is the isolation and the mockery that they receive as psychotic crap, as one professor called it last year. And listening to Michael Clark of the HPA constantly on the media saying there is no evidence that what you are suffering has this cause. We think there is lots of evidence. When I have personally had a go at Michael over this, as I tend to, and as my sufferers want me to, he says to me, well, there's no scientifically proven evidence. And I say, well, it would be something if you said that on it. But he doesn't. He says there's no evidence. Do you think it would be a good idea, in the light of the evidence that is known, clinical and otherwise, that the government takes steps to disallow Wi-Fi being installed in schools where there are young children?
Okay, fine.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Wells, freelance writer and electrosensitive. My question follows on from this lady's, I suppose. In a way, it seems a bit of a chicken and egg situation. We're not all electrosensitives, although we are all exposed pretty much to the same amount of radiation. So I just wondered, in your opinion, how much of it is about people who are already immune compromised developing electrosensitivity, or how much is it being exposed to electrosensitivity causes people to become immune compromised?
Okay, and the last one, then I'm going to take another last bunch of questions, but then we've got to get out of here. Right.
My question is similar to one of the things actually I was going to ask. Since more than half of the schools in the UK have Wi-Fi, what would you expect to see effects on children being, and what advice would you give to government?
Easy.
Okay. As I can remember, then maybe moving backwards. The difficulty with the Wi-Fi in the schools is that this is the most vulnerable population, this is the highest risk population, and that's an experiment that should not be conducted. Now, we have just completed some work in a community called Rancho Santa Fe in California, And next to this school, it's not a Wi-Fi in the school, but next to the school there's a base station with 8 or 9 antennas. And we've done readings and we've found information carrying radio waves all around the school playground. And the antenna concentration is as recent as 5 or 6 years ago. And this school, Rancho Santa Fe, is the most wealthy community in America. It's movie stars and professional athletes. That school was the #1 elementary school for 20 years in California. And in 2003, it dropped to #7, and in 2005, it dropped to #9. Now, if you're in the business of looking for canaries in the coal mine, you have them there. So when you're looking at the types of responses that you would expect, disruption of intracellular communication leads to things like attention deficit, not being able to focus, sleep disruption, behavioral problems, all of those things. So if you want to do a quick sample, take a look at the records of those things in your schools and compare those that have Wi-Fi and those that do not, those with mass and those that do not, because the mechanism suggests that those are the kinds of things that you can see. Okay. You don't have to convince me. I believe. And that's why here in the UK, you need a clinical intervention program. You need a post-market surveillance registry and a clinical intervention program so that people like you can be taken care of with your doctors while other folks are trying to do the research that crosses the T's and dots the I's. You can't wait for them.